right, let's get comfortable because for today's episode, I am absolutely going to need comfort because what we're talking about today is a weakness of mine and absolutely not a strength. That is why we are in my bed having this chat. So, welcome back to Bed Chats, where we chat about life and things and anything in between, which today's topic is a pretty hot topic considering I get asked about it quite a bit, at least the topic of it. People want to know my experiences with it, what it's like to date in my life. And yeah, I feel like it would make a good episode to relive my trauma and share my experiences with you guys because it's the trenches out here in the dating world, especially for women. I really only have my perspective here because I am a woman and I do date men. So this is coming from a woman who dates men here. That narrative is what is about to be shared. So if you're a man watching this, no hate or anything. I just, have some experiences. So we're going to share them with you guys today. I really did not want to make this episode because to be honest, I don't like talking about my weaknesses. I like to only talk about my strengths, obviously, like most people. And I feel like sometimes there's just no way that my trauma or experiences are going to help someone, but this actually might make you feel less alone in the dating world or just, a little better about your dating life if you even have one, because if you don't, same sis, we're in this together. Single as a Pringle. I do have my laptop here because, as you guys know from previous episodes, I do lose my train of thought like really, really quickly. And I don't know what disease or illness that is, ADHD probably, but anyways, if you see me glancing down, I do have notes on my computer because I am trying to keep my train of thought for you guys. Y'all don't have all day to sit here and listen to me talk as much as I try to tell myself y'all do. I feel like it's necessary to note that I'm really speaking to my 20s and my 30-year-olds because you can watch this at any age and get probably any experience or advice if you want to take something from that. But I really, really want this to be for my younger gals because in my 20s, I felt like I was missing out on something. I'm 30 now, about to be 31 in July, and I can tell you from where I'm sitting right now at my age of 30, I am not missing out on anything. I did not miss out on anything, and I really don't feel like you are missing out on anything. If you're single, not married, not a mom yet, or never want to be a mom, that's okay too. You haven't settled down yet. Yeah, I'm here to tell you that you're not missing out on a single thing. And there are other things in life to bring you fulfillment and bring you love and bring you joy. And that is what I hope the message comes across for today. And that's why I wanted to share my experiences in the trenches of dating. So let's get into it. I am going to reference the word love a lot. And when I say love, I'm not meaning love in friendships or in terms of like a deep, meaningful relationship that brings you fulfillment. I'm talking about specific like partnerships, like husband, wife, 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 husband, husband situation. We're talking about partnerships here, and love and dating, no matter how much society wants us to think that it's casual or, modern dating is extremely laid back. It is hand in hand for me, love and dating. Like, am I saying that when you first go on the first date, is that love? No, but it does go hand in hand for me. So when I reference love, I mean dating in a way, and I mean like partnerships, not, I do find love in friendships and fulfillment, and that is not what we're talking about here today. Maybe I'll make another episode on fulfilling friendships and the love that I get from that and how I try to maintain and curate that because I feel like that's important too. But today we're talking about love and dating and life around that. I did not prioritize love in my 20s at all. Like, I probably should have looking back, but that is really what this whole story is about, is I did not prioritize love in my 20s. It was never my end goal. I did not build a life around fitting a partner into it. And I'm really not mad about that. Like, I thought I was going to be at this age. I really thought that I would regret not giving as much priority or time to dating or leaving a spot open in my life for someone to just like fit into it, because that's just really not realistic, and it wasn't realistic for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely dated. I I've been on my fair share of dates, good and bad, and I have had my fair share of situationships. To be honest, I was behind the chair working 12-hour days or working Saturdays on the weekends the whole weekend. And work is where I find a lot of fulfillment. I know that we are not working our lives away here, but I'm definitely not regretting making room for a man in my schedule, because what my life has given me now that I didn't prioritize love in my 20s is a fulfilling relationship with all of my friends, a career that I absolutely love and is consumes my life most of the time. And in my 20s, that was really no different for me. It was actually worse. I worked a ton. I woke up, thought about work, thought about my passion, thought about pursuing it pretty much every single day, and I did. And obviously, here we are still single, talking to you, so that may or may not be the catalyst of that, but regardless, like I said, I'm not mad about it. It is just what it is. And to be honest, I was really just worried about if my client's updo was going to hold in the Mississippi humidity in the South, because that's a real problem, baby. Like, the heck I look like sitting out here worried about a relationship or dating or going on a date when their updo might not hold in the humidity. And that's like a real problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm kidding, but not really. My priorities were elsewhere, to make it short. I was really focused on building something real and stable for myself, and I'm sure you'll understand why when we get into my trauma. I definitely feel like it's relevant to talk about being from a small town, because the expectations hit pretty early. Marriage, kids, settling down, and finding a husband, and you know, being a stay-at-home mom. I feel like you are kind of surrounded by that narrative living in the South. I don't know if you live in the North or you live in the West or you live wherever you live and you had expectations put onto you as a woman. I'm talking to women here because y'all are my gals, and I feel like that is who I am trying to relate to in this whole message. So when I say that, sorry men, if you're listening to this, I'm not trying to disclude you here, but I can't relate. I don't know your narrative or your experiences. If you care to share, please make a video on your dating experiences as a man, because I do believe there are a lot of women that would love to see that narrative. We're already getting off on tangents, and that's why I have my notes. Marriage, kids, the whole works. I mean, I definitely opted out, obviously. I didn't opt out in rebellion, though. It was like, I guess some people thought I did. It was more so like self-preservation in a way, because it's not like I don't believe in love, because I definitely do. Like marriage, partnerships, absolutely, the whole works. I believe in that, and I believe in the sanctity and the commitment that goes into all of that and consuming in that, as it should. But the way I saw it growing up, it never looked like something I could trust. Like being independent, being career driven, it's definitely not as glamorous as I'm sure it comes across, to have your freedom in that way, especially if you're in a relationship that maybe isn't providing you with as much as you felt like you needed. And you look at someone that's single with all their freedom and you're like, wow, that looks great. I need that again. But to be honest with you guys, it really isn't as glamorous as a lot of people make it seem. At least in my experience, it hasn't been. Like there were nights that I would come home from big wins in my career or big wins in my life, and I had nobody to share it with. Like going on vacation and seeing something really beautiful, and you feel yourself looking around like, who can I share this with? And that kind of sucks sometimes, not gonna lie. I mean, no complaints, but also a little complaints there. And sometimes that leaves me wondering, like, what if I had prioritized love a little more or put forth a little more effort in that area of my life? But at the end of the day, I never regret choosing me first, which is really what I did, because we're about to get into the trauma. I feel like for context, I definitely need to share that my view on love was pretty complicated early on. My parents divorced when I was really young. They actually divorced twice. Yeah, that happened. And the women in my life, my mom, my aunts, my grandmother, they gave everything to men who gave very little in return, and that shaped me. I saw love as heavy and one-sided and sacrificial, and I'm not saying that's right, but when you grow up and that's all you see is men letting down the women who are working really hard at their relationship or working really hard at their family dynamic and their goals and what they have aligned for themselves, it scares you. It scares you to want to do that and want to enter into something like that. And although I am working on those things, it is necessary to share for context that I don't have this outlook on what I'm sharing with you for nothing and just in my 20s. It also started at a really young age for me that I recommend therapy for, which has helped me a lot. I had a pretty complicated view on relationships from the very beginning. I also became a caretaker really young. My dad had Parkinson's disease and he pretty much had it my entire life. And because my parents were divorced, I'm the oldest daughter, I was, I was I was signed up to be a caretaker, and I don't regret that because my dad is unfortunately no longer on this earth with me. And sometimes I do look back on the situations where, as a teenager, I, couldn't go to the movies or I couldn't really have friends because I was taking care of my dad who had an illness that I literally would not wish on anybody because it's absolutely awful. But what I can say is it also shaped my view of love because what I thought was love was like romance and flowers and Disney movies growing up watching those. But what my relationship with my father, especially one who had an illness, a terminal illness, was the moments like brushing his hair or um, helping him eat when his hands were too shaky. I don't know if you have any view of what Parkinson's disease is, but it is debilitating, and it's slowly debilitating, which honestly I think is the worst part of it. You watch your family member just like slowly decline in front of your eyes, and that's hard to deal with, especially growing up and like seeing happy families and dynamics of families that are whole and rooted in their relationship and their parents are still married. And you see the kids at school not having to take care of their parents like that. And although I am not sitting here in regret in any of this, I feel like it is just necessary to note that your relationship with your parents and their relationship does shape the outlook that you have on love and commitment and partnerships in your life. And if you experience that at a young age and you don't at least deal with it as a family or deal with it on your own, you will have to deal with it and face the consequences of it because that kind of repressed resentment, I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe that's how I kind of felt. That kind of resentment carries on into other relationships because to me, I don't feel like my body or my brain knew the difference between the love I had for my father and my mother and the hope that I had for their relationship as a young woman. I mean, I feel like that absolutely has shaped the way that I step and view relationships, for good or bad. As I'm sure you're picking up, my parents' relationship was definitely layered and complicated and not that great to experience as a young child. It was also never something that we really unpacked as a family, and I feel like we definitely should have. But, hindsight's always 2020 there. What I can say is that it taught me a lot about love, good and bad. The good part is that it showed me that when my dad's health declined years later, even though my parents had been divorced practically my entire life since I was basically like 5, when my dad's health declined, my mom was still there pretty much till his deathbed. And it taught me that love is ever changing. It never really goes away. Love doesn't always end, it just shifts. And it can still mean care instead of looking like romance. Because regardless of if my mom was there for my dad because of his illness and her respect for her children, it doesn't matter. She was there for him at the end. And honestly, like I hold a lot of respect for my mom for doing that because I can't imagine if I had a divorced someone and they were on their deathbed. And I would like to think that I am a mature enough adult that I would extend maybe not the in love romance part, but the care part of love to someone that I had shared a life with or kids with. So I hold a lot of respect for my mom there because it taught me that love doesn't end, it just shifts. It also made me question, are we supposed to stay in things just because they feel right, just out of like loyalty or fear or habit even? Because to me that just doesn't feel justified to be your own person and to live your own life. And I do understand that when you become married, you become one in a way, but I don't really view it that way. I am my own entity. I am my own thoughts and feelings and emotions, and I am my own past and present. And I don't feel as if it's justified to stay in a relationship regardless of how good it is or how bad it is. I don't feel like it, or the circumstances, no matter the circumstances, staying out of love or loyalty or fear or whatever, if you're not being met where you need to be met, yeah, that just doesn't sit right with me. I'm sure hearing all of that, you're probably nodding your head like, yeah, she probably doesn't want commitment. No, but like, it really isn't that. Out of all of that, I still want partnership, but it just means I'm not chasing it at the expense of losing myself. I don't necessarily fear commitment. It's more so that I fear like disappearing inside of it. I hope that makes sense. And to be honest with you guys, I really haven't put myself out there. Like, I don't do dating apps. I don't go out much, obviously. I'm in my bed talking to you guys right now. I mean, hello. I just kind of stay in my own lane, as I'm sure a lot of people do who aren't dating. And I wouldn't say I'm just hoping love just like shows up, as convenient as that would be for me and a lot of people, just like knock, knock, knock on your front door and just be like, hey, it's time. As convenient as that would be for me and a lot of people, I know that's not realistic, but I do believe it's meant to align with the life that I'm building, not just fit by force, because that's never going to work if you try to fit something by force. Like if you try to put a square into a triangular shape, like that's just not going to work. It's not going to fit. And also being in a career that's mostly women, that really doesn't help my case either. My world is filled with feminine energy, confidence, and creativity, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love all of those things, and I have curated those things for a reason in my life because they bring me so much joy. But that doesn't like dropping eligible bachelors in my path, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm not really putting myself out there to be fair to myself and my story. It's necessary to note that I definitely have been in love, like deep love. I've done the whole thing where I've lived with someone. We had the dog, we had the house, we remodeled the house, and we lived in it while we remodeled it, which was, if you've ever done that, it's a test to your relationship. So we talked about kids, we went on trips, met the families, we did the whole shebang. And from the outside, I'm sure it looked like we had it all together, that we were the perfect, or what looks like the perfect relationship, especially on social media or to my friends and family. But I felt invisible. He never truly saw me, and he never gave the effort to truly see me. He didn't ask me deep questions. He didn't hold space for who I was beneath the surface. There was really zero emotional intimacy, no romance, no curiosity. It was really just routine. And when I wanted out, he was shocked. Like, what? You're not happy? What do you want? The whole world? Yeah. Yeah, because I am the world. I'm building something incredible, and I realize I can give myself every single thing I thought I needed from him without sacrificing my joy, my ambition, my passion, my pursuit, my purpose in life, or my energy. I've also been in the bridal industry for over 10 years now, and I have seen and heard it all, as I'm sure you can imagine, doing hair and makeup for bridal parties. Yeah, the stories. I've seen love stories that are real and deep and genuine and like, yes, queen, you've met your match as you deserve. I can't wait to see you walk down that aisle as you deserve. And then I've seen weddings that shouldn't have happened. I mean, who am I to judge? But I definitely don't think that some of the girls that I've done hair and makeup on should have walked down that aisle. And come to find out years later when I see them and I ask how marriage is going, I was right. And congratulations on your split, because I support that. Because like I said, we're not staying in things out of love, out of fear, out of loyalty. Nah, Also to note, because I feel like it's important as a woman, I've felt this in the past, but I used to think that sex equaled love as well, that if I gave that part of myself, I would be chosen. But being wanted isn't the same thing as being valued, and I had to unlearn that, still unlearning that, to be honest. But what I do know is that real intimacy is being listened to, remembered, asked about, protected, and not just touched. I had to date people who didn't know me, didn't want to get to know me, slept beside people who didn't know my heart and didn't care to know my heart, sit in rooms feeling completely alone despite being in true love with my partner. I had to realize that intimacy isn't physical. At least what I view as the best types of intimacy, they aren't physical. It's being asked how you're doing and actually being listened to. I had to stop confusing attention for care, and I had to start protecting my energy like it was sacred and not worth testing, because it is, and it isn't worth testing. But I've also seen beautiful partnerships, the kind of partnerships that make you believe in love again. Equal, supportive, rooted. And once you've seen that, you don't even really have to witness it for yourself. You don't have to experience it for yourself. You really just have to see how another person is being treated and being met and happy, to know that you deserve that. And you're not going to settle for anything less than that. I'm not settling for anything less than that. Some of my best friends, their partnerships have made me change my viewpoint on commitment and relationships in my adult life, to see that I am deserving of that, and it is out there and I can find it. And with a little work and patience and commitment, that I could too have that if I wanted it. And that brings me a peace of knowing that I'm not failing in this department. Like, I called this a weakness earlier, and I do feel like it's a weakness because I'm not striving in the best marriage ever, but like, who cares? Like, I have other things that bring me love and fulfillment and joy, and if I let myself get down on that, all I do is I just think about the beautiful partnerships my friends have, and I'm like, yeah, he out there somewhere for me, just waiting. Like, they've just automatically set the bar so freaking high, unfortunately and fortunately. And I do think about this every now and then. Like, if I were to imagine what love would look like for me now, it's not about being swept off my feet or having someone complete me, because I don't want to be rescued. I want to be witnessed. I want someone who sees the life that I'm creating and says, I want to walk alongside that, not rearrange it. Someone that understands that peace, freedom, and purpose are not things that I'm willing to sacrifice. And no, to me, it's not selfish to say that someone should fit into your life. It's actually respectful to you both parties involved, because I've spent too long building something beautiful for myself and my life, something stable and something real. But the right person won't try to tear that down. They'll want to understand it, maybe even contribute to it, but never tear it down, and definitely never control it. So yeah, with all that said, I do still believe in love. I just believe in a different kind of love, a love that honors me and not drains me. One where I don't have to audition for worthiness or over-explain my hyper-independence, because it is what it is. Love that matches my energy, not manages it. I want to share a story because I feel like it would provide some context, but just bear with me here. It's going to get a little weird. I'm going to need you to have your imagination with me on this one, because this is how I view really just life in general, in different personality types and managing those different personality types with my personality type. But this is really how I view dating. I'm going to give y'all an analogy that I actually shared with my therapist a long time ago. And it's really just stuck with me, because not that I try to avoid these types of situations in my life, because I feel like having a bunch of different types of personality types in your life makes you a whole person and brings a lot more joy to your life than not. But in the terms of dating, this is what we're talking about. Okay, imagine we're at the ocean. You've got the deep sea, you've got the shore, and you've got the sky. Dating to me feels like being a deep sea fish in a world of birds and turtles. The birds fly free, they're social, carefree, as I'm sure you can imagine a bird. And the turtles live on the shore, or really the surface, and they can't go that deep. They can swim in the deep water and they can go in the ocean, but they really can't go that deep. But fish, we live in the depths. We sit with things, we're empathic, we feel things deeply, and we swim alone if we have to. Have you ever tried taking a bird underwater? It's not really the greatest experience. with people and birds because it's an analogy. And I've spent a lot of time dating birds and turtles, and they were not for me. Doesn't make a bird or a turtle a bad person because I love turtles and I love birds and I love their spirit. However, I live in the deep sea, and if I'm trying to find a partner who's going to live a life with me, then I'm going to need a fish. And if I'm a bird, I'm going to need a bird. And if I'm a turtle, I'm going to need a turtle. I feel like that makes sense. You might think I'm weird after sharing that story, and that's okay. I'm sure my therapist thought I was weird too, but I feel like analogies help. They help me like separate things in my little chaotic brain, and that's just how I view it now. I'm looking for a fish, a deep fish, someone that can meet me in the deep, someone that wouldn't be uncomfortable with going deep and maybe even swimming alone, because I do like my alone time as well, to note, because it is, for context, I do feel like you need to know that. I love my alone time. Honestly, I don't feel like I get enough of it. And another story for context, I can't believe I'm sharing this one either, but I did meet a guy at the airport, and it was completely unexpected, super rare. I mean, we matched on religion and politics and values and morals and music and lifestyle, and like it's really rare to find someone that you meet and early on you're able to have so much in common with, especially values that like run really deep and viewpoints that run really deep. And of course I was thinking, what is the catch? Because like it cannot be this rare and this perfect. And we met at an airport, and that was the catch. He lived everywhere. He had no home base. He was always on the move, which nothing wrong with that. And we did stay in touch, but as I'm sure you're gathering, that did fade out, and I'm glad that it faded out. As much as I wasn't glad in the moment, and I was thinking like, was it me, or like could I have contributed more to this? Like, did we not talk enough? Like, did I say something? No. It faded, because what I did learn from this is a valuable lesson. It taught me that connection without consistency, it can't build something real. And he wasn't a mistake per se. He was more like a mirror showing me what's possible in dating, and what I'm looking for is out there and could be out there, but also showing me what I don't want and what I'm unwilling to give up for that. Because here's the thing, I'm an Enneagram 1. I'm a perfectionist. I like structure. I like routine. I like stability. I like follow through. I'm not meant to just float through life, as carefree and great and cute as that sounds, because at some point, spontaneous free spirit stops being cute and starts becoming chaos. I've worked too hard to build a rooted and stable life, and a carefree mentality is fun and all, but respectfully, I'm looking for chalant, not nonchalant. Like, I'm looking for somebody that knows where they want to be in life and knows what they want out of their life, or at least is like working towards that. I'm not saying that floating through your life is not great. If that makes you happy, I hope you find the partner for you. They will not be me, because I like structure and routine way too much. I like to have stability. I like the fact that I'm 30 and I own a home. I'm really proud of that, and I like that I feel rooted, not just saying that I'm a tree and I'm stuck, like I can move, but and I would, if it were necessary for a relationship that was perfect, consider moving. But to be honest, like I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with my home and what I've worked for, and I'm really unwilling to give that up. Not saying that anybody's asked me to thus far, but I just know that if it gets to that point when I'm dating someone where I feel like I'm going to have to make that sacrifice and not them to join onto their life or their circus, I'm not doing that. I got my own life and my own circus to maintain here. Also, to add on to that, being online and having a platform adds a whole other layer to this. I've had partners try to dim it, manage it, be weirdly competitive with it. But my platform isn't a problem. It's a huge part of my life. And I believe the person for me won't be turned off by my visibility, even if they don't want that for themselves. I'm not asking them to understand every part of what I do, because I may not understand every part of what they do, but they'll get that it matters to me, and they'll respect that it's a part of who I am. And no, they don't have to share in the spotlight or even stand in it. But what I'm trying to say here is that they have to at least support the light that I'm standing in. I definitely do not expect my partner to become a content creator just because I am. I actually prefer for them like not to. Like, there is no greater attractiveness to me than a man being like, I don't even have social media. Like, say what? Slay. All I need is for them to just see the value in what I've built for myself and to understand that my presence online is real work and not just some performance, and to know that supporting me doesn't necessarily mean changing themselves, because that's not what I want. If I meet you for who you are, then of course I don't want you to change for me or my viewpoint or anybody's viewpoint. It just means they're not going to change me. Like, let's not just change each other. Like, let's just not do that. Like, let's honor people for who you meet them as and where they're at, and let's just not try to change people. The next person I meet will meet me where I'm at. That's a requirement. They'll value what I value. They'll be rooted, ready, and respectful. No chasing and no confusion. That's the trauma. So no, all that to say, I did not prioritize love in my 20s, but I did prioritize me. Maybe that was the greatest type of love I could have ever found, and the best foundation I could have ever laid for myself. And before I wrap up, I have been thinking a lot about what I would tell my younger self, that 22-year-old girl working really long hours, just trying to make everybody proud, and wondering if love was supposed to look a certain way by now. I wrote these down because I feel like I need to reread these back to myself every now and then, so I'm going to read them to you. This is what I would tell my younger self. I tell her, you're not hard to love, but you are hard to keep up with sometimes, sis. And that's okay. That is more than okay, because you were made to move fast and dream big and live wide, and don't ever slow down to match someone else's pace. I'd say just because someone wants you doesn't mean that they value you, and just because it looks perfect doesn't mean that it feels right. I'd say to trust your body, trust your gut, trust your feelings, and if it doesn't feel like peace, it's not your path. I'd say just because someone wants you doesn't mean they value you. And just because it might look perfect doesn't mean that it feels right. I'd remind her that you're not behind, you're building this beautiful life. And one day you'll thank yourself for choosing growth over comfort, and truth over fantasy, and yourself over anyone who couldn't see your worth. And lastly, I'd say that love is definitely not the goal. It shouldn't be. You are the goal. Build a life so full and so honest and so aligned that love is a bonus and not a fix. My mom is 60 now, and she is newly single after a divorce that was absolutely necessary. Obviously not to my father. She did remarry later on in life. And she's newly single and the happiest I've ever seen her. I mean, would she have preferred to stay in a marriage that was safe and loving? Sure, obviously. But sometimes peace does not come until you put yourself first. At any age, putting yourself first is necessary, and it is not selfish, and the right partner should see that. So yeah, here's to the women who never settled, the women who walked away, and the ones still figuring it out. Because to be honest, we're all just doing our best here, guys, and that's more than enough. And yeah, I think I'm done talking about dating now. If you related to this at all, or if this spoke to you at all, please leave a comment, because I would love to hear your story and your journey as well if you care to share it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys today. Until next time, bye. Bye.